Good morning, dear students. Our next session that is regarding the color of lanthanides. See here, the general oxidation state of lanthanides, it is +3, isn't it? So we can write it as lanthanum 3+. And also normally these lanthanum 3+ ions, they are usually colored. And also, just like in all the cases, there will be some exceptions also in these cases. Okay, so we can write the general oxidation states of these lanthanides, that is lanthanum 3+, cerium, then promethium, then neodymium 3+, then lanthanum, cerium, praseodymium, neodymium, then promethium, Pr3+. This is Pr, this is Pm. Okay, promethium 3+. Then comes samarium 3+. Samarium 3+, then europium, then gadolinium, Gd, gadolinium 3+. Then lutetium. From the back side I am writing lutetium 3+, ytterbium 3+, then thulium 3+, erbium 3+, then holmium 3+. It will be like this. Okay, cerium, promethium, thulium, then neodymium, erbium, promethium, holmium, then samarium, dysprosium, then europium, terbium, Tb3+, then gadolinium, and here also we can write it as gadolinium, both of them. Okay, gadolinium 3+. See here, see the number of unpaired electrons for both of them will be like this. For lanthanum and lutetium, the number of unpaired electrons will be 0 for lanthanum and lutetium. Then for cerium and ytterbium, it is 1 number of unpaired electrons. For promethium and thulium, it is 2. For neodymium and erbium, it is 3. Then comes 4. Then 5. Then comes 6. Then 7. Okay, gadolinium 7. See here, this color of the ions, it will be depending upon the number of unpaired electrons. Okay, so that is the main point. The color depends upon the number of unpaired electrons. See here, the number of the unpaired electrons, it is in the 4f orbital, isn't it? So the number of unpaired electrons in the 4f orbital. And also see for the see here, both lanthanum, it is having no unpaired electrons, 0. That means the compound, it is colorless. For lanthanum and lutetium, both of them are colorless. And also see, number of unpaired electrons in cerium, it is 1, and for ytterbium also it is 1. Even though it is number of unpaired electron is 1, it is also colorless. Okay, that point is important. So for lanthanum and lutetium, it is colorless. At the same time, for cerium and ytterbium also it is colorless. Then for promethium, it is green color. For promethium, it is green in color, but for thulium, it is pale green. Okay, even though the number of electrons are the same, number of unpaired electrons are the same, they will be having different colors. Okay, and also then comes neodymium and erbium. That is with 3. This neodymium, it has got a lilac color, and for erbium, it has got a pink color. Then for promethium, it is pink. For promethium, pink, and for holmium, it is pale yellow. Then for samarium, it is yellow. For dysprosium, it is also yellow. Number of unpaired electrons is 5. Okay. Then for europium, it is 6. Number of unpaired electrons, the color is pale pink. Then for terbium, Tb3+, it is pale pink. Pale pink. But then gadolinium, both of them are colorless. Okay. Gadolinium, it is colorless. Okay, so this is the color by which the compounds are existing. Even though the number of unpaired electrons are the same, the compounds may be exhibiting different colors. See, for 3, number of unpaired electrons 3, this neodymium, it is showing lilac color, but at the same time erbium, it is showing pink in color. And also here, see how a compound is showing color. That means it will be appearing wavelengths, or it will be absorbing light. Sorry, it will be absorbing light from the UV visible region, isn't it? If it is absorbing light from the UV visible region, or in the visible region mainly, what happens, the compound will be showing color, isn't it? And also this absorption of light, it depends upon the energy needed to excite the electrons, isn't it? For see here example, what type of transitions are going on? An FF transition is there, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, isn't it? So here, if the unpaired electron, if 1 or 2 unpaired electrons are there, what happens? There will be an FF transition. This the electrons can enter in either of these all F orbitals, isn't it? So according to this transition, due to this, as a result of this FF transition itself, what happens? The energy needed to excite the electrons will be different, isn't it? So the energy needed to excite the electrons to the neighboring F orbitals, it will be different, and correspondingly what happens, the color will be varying. Okay, so that is the explanation for the different colors for the same number of unpaired electrons. Okay, so here you have to study these 2 points mainly. The color, it is due to the presence of the number of unpaired electrons in the 4f orbital, and also this color, it is due to the absorption of light in the visible region, and also this FF transition is going on in the case of lanthanides, and as a result it requires different amount of energy to be excited from one level to another, and as a result what happens, the color, it will be showing varying color in the case of lanthanides. Okay, then the next is coming to the magnetic properties of this lanthanides. Magnetic properties of lanthanides. See here, some of them it is not having unpaired electrons, isn't it? See here, lanthanum and lutetium, it has got 0 unpaired electrons, and also again lanthanum, lutetium, lanthanum 3+, then lutetium 3+, then cerium 4+, then ytterbium 2+. So all these electrons, they will be, both of them, this one having 4f0 configuration, isn't it? And for cerium 4+ and ytterbium 2+, they are having 4f14 configuration. That means a completely filled configuration. You can write down the configuration and check it. So lanthanum 3+ and lutetium, it has got 4f0, and cerium 4+ and ytterbium 2+, which has got 4f14 configuration. That means either it is vacant or it is completely filled, isn't it? Either it is vacant or it is completely filled configurations. And as a result, what happens? See here, in these cases, there are no unpaired electrons, isn't it? In both of these cases, no unpaired electrons. So no unpaired electrons means, what about the magnetic property? That particular ion will be diamagnetic. Okay, so these ions, they are all diamagnetic in nature. Then in the case of this trivalent ions, for example lanthanum 3+ ions, they will be having unpaired electrons. See, some of them will be, these 3+ ionic compounds are having unpaired electrons, and as the case, what happens, these lanthanum 3+ configuration, they will be having unpaired electrons, and as a result, what about the magnetic property? They will be paramagnetic in nature. Okay, so that is what is meant by diamagnetic and paramagnetic. We have seen in detail in the case of transition elements, isn't it? And also see here, in this case also, this magnetic properties, it will be slightly varying from those of the transition elements. See, in the case of transition elements, we have seen that usually an element, it will be showing magnetic properties when two types of motions are there, isn't it? That means the spin motion as well as the orbital motion. Two types of motions will be there. We had discussed it in detail in transition elements, isn't it? Spin motion as well as orbital motion. The spin motion results in the generation of a spin magnetic moment. spin motion results in spin magnetic moment, as well as in case of orbital motion, it generates orbital magnetic moment, isn't it? And also in the case of d orbitals, the d electrons, they are in the outermost shell, isn't it? So what happens? While a ligand is approaching, what happens? These electrons will be under the influence of this ligand, isn't it? Or the ligands will be forming a coordination bond with this, and as a result, the orbital motion of these electrons, it will be prevented, or it will be quenched. The exact term is quenched, isn't it? Quenching of the d orbital. So here the ligands will be having an influence over the outermost d electrons, and as a result, for the transitional elements, the orbital magnetic moment or the orbital motion of the d electrons, it is quenched. So what happens? In the case of transition elements, there will not be any orbital magnetic moment, isn't it? No significant orbital magnetic moment is there. So what happens there? We are applying a formula for calculating mu. That means the total mu will be equal to, the total magnetic moment will be equal to the mu spin plus mu orbital, and there what happens? The mu orbital can be neglected in the case of transition elements, isn't it? So therefore we can say that the mu total, it will be equal to mu spin. This is just a repetition of what we had seen in transition elements, isn't it? And also it will be equal to square root of n into n plus 2, where n is the number of unpaired electrons, isn't it? N is the number of unpaired electrons. So this is the case of the transition elements. Transition elements. But here in this case of lanthanides, what happens is that the 4 of electrons, see, it is in the anti-penultimate shell, isn't it? So the if here the 4 of electrons are there, then what happens? It will be there will be another 5s orbital, then again 5p orbital will be there, isn't it? So what happens is that if a ligand is approaching to this orbital, what happens? This 4 of electrons or 4 of is well shielded from the ligand, isn't it? So it is not affected by the quenching effect of these ligands, isn't it? Of the surrounding ligands, not affected by the quenching of the quenching effect of the surrounding ligands. Not affected by the quenching of the surrounding ligands. Okay, so see here, this 4 of it is in the anti-penultimate shell. Then after that 4 of orbital, there will be 5s and 5p. These orbitals will be protecting this 4 of electrons from the ligands, or the ligands has got no influence on the 4 of electrons. So this orbital, the orbital motion, it is not affected by the surrounding ligands. So what happens here? The total magnetic moment will be the result of the spin magnetic moment as well as the orbital magnetic moment. Okay. So here the orbital, the total magnetic moment, it will be equal to mu spin plus mu orbital. So in the lanthanides, in case of lanthanides, we have to consider both the case of spin magnetic moment as well as the orbital magnetic moment. And also this magnetic moment of lanthanides, it is calculated by the formula. The total magnetic moment, it is calculated by the formula G into square root of J into J plus 1. Okay, G into square root of J into J plus 1, where G is called as the Lande G factor, Lande, Lande G factor. And again, what is J? J is the total angular momentum quantum number, capital J. Capital J is the total angular momentum quantum number. Total angular momentum quantum number. Okay, and also the J, the value of J can be calculated from this from the sum of S plus L or L plus S. Okay, that means it is obtained by the coupling of the spin contribution Ls as well as the orbital contribution L. That means here comes the value of S and L. That means the spin magnetic moment as well as the orbital magnetic moment. So J can be calculated from the sum of this orbital contribution as well as the spin contribution. And also again two conditions are there. For J is equal to L minus S, when the orbital it is less than half filled. When the orbital is less than half filled, J can be calculated by using the formula J is equal to L minus S. And if the orbital it is more than half filled or greater than half filled, if the orbital is more than half filled, then we can use the formula J is equal to L plus S. So these two conditions also you have to remember. J is equal to L minus S, that means less than half filled. That means if the orbital it is like this, see, if it is having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if it is less than half filled, say if the number of electrons it is 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is less than half filled, isn't it? So then we can apply this condition J is equal to L minus S. Then if it is more than half filled means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. More than half filled means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It is more than half filled. Then we can use this formula J is equal to L plus S. So here you have to remember only two things, that is the magnetic properties of lanthanides. It will be depending upon the spin contribution as well as the orbital contribution, like the case of transition elements, isn't it? And also the formula for calculating the magnetic moment is equal to G into root of J into J plus 1, where G is called as the Landé G factor. Capital J, it is the total angular momentum quantum number, and J can be calculated by using the formula J is equal to L minus S for less than half fill condition, and J is equal to L plus S for more than half fill condition. So these are the two conditions also. Okay. Then there is a formula for calculating the Landé G factor G. G also. So while going for PG, you have to calculate all these things. G, the value of J, etc. You have to calculate, and also it will be asked in your next net examinations also. The color of the lanthanides, etc. You have to study there very clearly. Okay. So this G, Landé G factor G is equal to 3 by 2 into 3 by 2 plus S into S plus 1 minus L into L plus 1 divided by 2J into J plus 1. Okay. This is the formula for calculating Landé G factor. G is equal to 3 by 2 plus S into S plus 1 minus L into L plus 1 divided by 2J into J plus 1. So this is another formula. This formula also you have to remember. So if a 4-mark question is asked for the magnetic properties, you have to write all these things. Okay. This much points you have to write. Then the next property, that is the oxidation potential. Oxidation potential. See here, normally lanthanides, it will be having a general oxidation state 3+, isn't it? So lanthanides, it will be giving Ln3 plus 3 electrons. So this is the standard electrode potential. Okay, this is the equation for the oxidation states. Then normally this potentials, this standard oxidation potentials, they are quite high. And also from as we move along the series from lanthanum to lutetium, there will be a slight decrease in their values. A slight decrease in the oxidation potentials. And also this slight decrease in oxidation potentials, it can be due to, what will be the reason? It will be due to lanthanide contraction. Okay. So usually in any cases, if any reason is asked, you can say that it is due to lanthanide contraction, especially for oxidation potentials. The decrease in oxidation potential, it is due to this lanthanide contraction. That is regarding the oxidation potential. Okay. Then the next one, the 7th one, that is the basicity of ions. Basicity of ions. See here, the basicity also along the series, basicity will decreases from lanthanum 3+ to lutetium 3+. Basicity decreases. Okay. So basicity decreases, oxidation potential also decreases from lanthanum to lutetium. Okay. And also this basicity, usually the trend is basicity decreases with decrease in ionic size, isn't it? Basicity decreases with decrease in ionic size. Here also along the series, the ionic size is decreasing, isn't it? Lutetium is the smallest ion. So what happens? The basicity also decreases. And also the basicity of lanthanum hydroxide, basicity, it is a hydroxide, lanthanum hydroxide, LaOH thrice to Lu, lanthanum to lutetium hydroxides. What happens? The basicity decreases. So which one will be the strongest one, lanthanum or lutetium? Lanthanum hydroxide or lutetium hydroxide, which is the strongest base? Lanthanum hydroxide, it will be the strongest base. Okay, it will be the strongest, and lutetium hydroxide will be the weakest base. So these 2 points you have to remember. From lanthanum to lutetium, along that particular series, what happens? The ionic size decreases. With decrease in ionic size means the basicity also decreases. So along that period, the basicity decreases from lanthanum to lutetium. So while considering lanthanum hydroxide as well as lutetium hydroxide, lanthanum hydroxide is the strongest and lutetium, it is the weakest, since it is having the smallest ionic size in that series. Okay, so these much points you have to remember in the case of basicity. Then the next one, that is regarding the solubility. Solubility. So here solubility, usually these lanthanide salts, they can be hydrated. And also they can form chlorides, bromides, iodides, etc. And their chloride salts, the bromide salts, etc. They are all water soluble. Okay, usually many of them are water soluble. That is chlorides, bromides, then iodides, chlorides, bromides, iodides, then nitrates, then acetates, then perchlorates, then bromates, etc. They are all water soluble. So these are some of the lanthanide salt which are water soluble. And then some of them are insoluble in water. They are fluorides, then carbonates, then hydroxides, oxalates, C2O4 2-. These are insoluble in water. Okay, these lanthanide salts are insoluble in water. Okay. Then the next one, so that is regarding the solubility, just water soluble and water insoluble salt. Then the next property, 9th one, that is regarding the double salt. Double salt. Usually these lanthanides can form double salts. And some of the examples given in your textbook are in the case of nitrates are there, then sulfates are there, then carbonates are there. Okay, so for example, on double salt of nitrate, that we can write it as magnesium nitrate, MgNO3 twice, 3 molecules, then dot 2LnNO3 twice, lanthanum nitrate, dot 24H2. This is one of the double salt of lanthanides. Okay, this is nitrate. Then the next one is sulfates. Sulfates, example, ammonium sulfate, NH4 twice, SO4, then lanthanum sulfate, Ln2 SO4 thrice, dot 8H2. This is another double salt. Okay, double salt of sulfate. Then the next one is carbonate. Carbonate, that is K2CO3, then Ce2CO2 thrice, sorry, Ce2CO3 thrice, okay, dot 3H2O. Ce2CO3 thrice dot 3H2O. So this is another carbonate salt. These are all some of the examples of double salt. Okay. Then the next one, that is the regarding the reactivity. Reactivity. See here, reactivity, it is almost similar in the case of lanthanides, because see, from lanthanum 3+ to lutetium, what happens? The ionic size will be decreasing, isn't it? ionic size decreases, and also the decrease in ionic size, it is a very small amount that we are seeing the value that is about 0.22 angstrom, isn't it? That is a very small decrease is there in the case of lanthanides, and the phenomenon, it is called as the lanthanide contraction, isn't it? The phenomenon is called as lanthanide contraction, and as a result of this, the reactivity of these elements are also very close. That means they have got a very close resemblance in their reactivity also. And also normally in the case of these elements, what happens, the 4f electrons, they are well shielded by with the help of this 5s, 5p and 6s, isn't it? The 5s, 5p electrons are surrounding this 4f orbital, and also these 4f electrons are well shielded by the approaching elements or the approaching ligands. And also normally these metals, lanthanide metals, they are usually very soft. They are very soft and silvery white in color. This is the case of a general appearance. Usually lanthanides, they are soft and silvery white, and also electropositive nature, isn't it? They have got a positive charge, Ln3 plus, so they are electropositive in nature, and also they are very reactive, and the reactivity, it has got a very close resemblance between the elements. And also one more point here, it is that these metals, they will be tarnished readily in air. Tarnish means they will be having an oxide coating. That means when exposed to air, they will be having an oxide coating on its surface. That is why it is called as tarnishing. That means on exposure to air, it will be tarnished easily in the presence of air. Then again, on heating with one more point is that on heating in air or on heating in the presence of oxygen, what happens is that they form sesquioxides. Sesqui means it is a fraction. It can be a half. Okay. Sesquioxides. It can form sesquioxides. And it has got a general formula Ln2O3. This is Ln2O3. So this is an example for a sesquioxide, Ln2O3. And also there is an exception for this formation of sesquioxides, that is cerium oxide. It is not a sesquioxide. That is, cerium when exposed to air, it forms an oxide coating and becomes CeO2, cerium oxide. This is not a sesquioxide. Okay, this is not a sesquioxide. Sesqui means it is almost a fraction. So except the cerium oxide, all other lanthanides, it will be forming sesquioxides of the formula Ln2O3. That also you have to remember. And also one more case is that this ytterbium and lutetium, they also forms a protective oxide film coating. Ytterbium and lutetium, they also forms an oxide film coating, and also this this oxide film coating, suppose it is heated to a temperature of 1000 degrees Celsius only, what happens is that a bulk of this ytterbium and lutetium can form an oxide coating. Otherwise, it will not form an oxide coating. Okay, that means the bulk of this particular metal, it will not form an oxide film coating unless it is heated to 1000 degrees Celsius. Otherwise, it will be forming, when heated to 1000 degrees Celsius only, in this ytterbium as well as lutetium, it will be forming an oxide coating. Then normally one more reaction is there. Lanthanum 3+, they will be reacting with hydrogen. Usually it will be reacting with hydrogen. And also for the reaction to take place, it will be heated to 300 degrees Celsius. And as a result, the lanthanum hydrides will be formed, and it will be of the formula LnH2. Okay, so for the starting of the reaction, it will be heated to 300 degrees Celsius and forming hydrides. Okay, so this is lanthanum hydride. Similarly, other hydrides can also form, that is europium hydride, EuH2. Then ytterbium hydride, etc. can be formed. So this is also you have to take into consideration. So here, while considering the reactivity, you have to keep in mind these points. It can form an oxide coating which easily tarnishes in air, and also it can form on reaction with oxygen, it can form sesquioxide except cerium. Then ytterbium, lutetium also, when heated to 1000 degrees Celsius, it forms an oxide film coating in the bulk. Then with hydrogen, it will be forming lanthanum hydrides. Okay. Then the next one, that is the complex formation. 11th point, complexes. See here, lanthanum, it has got an oxidation state of +3, and this +3 state, it favors the formation of complexes. And also the ion size for lanthanum, the ions are somewhat larger, isn't it? From lanthanum to lutetium, the size is decreasing, and so here at this point, what happens, the size of the ion is comparatively larger, and also a low charge density will be there, isn't it? Low charge density, since the size of the ion is much larger while comparing with other elements. Okay. So because of the low charge density, what causes it does not lead to much polarization, isn't it? Does not cause, due to this low charge density, it does not cause much polarization, and hence do not form complexes readily. Okay. Do not form complexes much easily. Can form complexes but not as easy. Okay. Then it can form complexes with amines. It can form complexes with amines. Then it does not form complexes with carbon monoxide, that is the pi bonding ligands. With pi bonding ligands, it will not form complexes, CO, NO, CNR, etc. It does not form complexes. So it forms complexes with amines, but does not form complexes with this pi. These are pi bonding ligands, isn't it? So with these pi bonding ligands, this cannot form complexes. Okay. Then the next one, that is regarding the occurrence and isolation of lanthanides, that we can see in our next session. Okay. Thank you.